show at San Diego Comic-Con 2017 here with Mr. Jack Bender. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Have you had a chance to walk out there in the madness?
Well, yeah, I mean, and I've been to Comic-Con before, and it is mad.
Yeah.
But what AT&T and the Audience Network designed for this Wired Cafe is overwhelming and exceptional. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Very
Also
cool.
exciting is what you're here for.
Right.
Is Mr. Mercedes, based off of Stephen King's book.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. How did that all come about? Who approached who about doing this, and tell that story.
Okay, I'll tell that story. Well, Stephen and I became friendly when I was one of the exec producers and director of Lost. He was a big fan. So we communicated during that, and then we got together again on Under the Dome. And the 2 years I was exec producing, directing that. And we remained in contact and kept talking about finding something else to do together. And one day in the mail came this big package, which was Stephen King's unpublished, as of yet unpublished novel, Mr. Mercedes, which, needless to say, was thrilling.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I loved it, and I'd never read Stephen King writing within a detective genre. And one of the main things I loved about it, aside from his characters and his writing and his humor and all the darkness Stephen always brings to his writing and the world, but it was Stephen King writing about the horror inside these characters as opposed to outside these characters. And I thought that would make a great show. And I said to Stephen, yes, I want to do it. But you know, the guy who's born to play Hodges is this actor named Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
And Stephen said, Brendan, in Bruges, I love his work. And I said, well, you know, and so it became a process, and as fate would have it, Brendan Gleeson is our lead and couldn't be more exceptional and human and fabulous in the part. So that's how it all came to pass. And to arrive here now with our show, that's a very character-driven, dark and funny show is very exciting to me. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them have read it, the book. And most things change when they get adapted from book to film to TV, whatever it is. How much of it has changed, if at all? I mean, don't spoil anything, but what has changed from the book?
Well, the architecture, and hopefully in seasons 2 and 3 of Mr. Mercedes, we've got 2 more of Stephen's books in the trilogy.
Yeah.
And the architecture of our season was very much the architecture of Stephen's first book, Mr. Mercedes. So the big events are very similar. The characters and what they go through in the broad strokes is very similar. David E. Kelley adapted it brilliantly, and I brought David into the project, having worked with him in the past, and knowing that he too is a genius like Stephen, and that if David Kelley would go down, I always thought David Kelley going down these dark alleys would be a home run, because David Kelley is a very unique, I mean, you look at Ally McBeal, you look at all his shows, there was some twisted shit in those shows.
Yeah.
And when David Kelley goes down those alleys, it's really great because he doesn't lose the humanity and the humor. And you care about all these characters. David Kelley, there are a few new characters, especially Ida Silver, Brendan's neighbor, who Holland Taylor plays, who brings so much to the show. And David felt we needed a character like that. And but for the most part, Dennis Lehane, David Kelley, and the other writers have stuck very close to the book. But like anything, when it changes and it becomes 10 episodes, there are details that change. It's always kind of like if you ski, and I don't, if you ski down a mountain and you start at the top and down there's the lodge where you get to have a beer and relax, there are these slalom poles along the way. And all those poles mark, that's how we looked at every episode of Lost. But occasionally you go into the trees and you veer off. So the scripts do veer occasionally,
yeah,
but are very true to Stephen King. And just one more thing. He said something exceptional after he saw our finale. He said, I love this show, and I love when the writers have gone places I didn't, and I sometimes wish I would have when I see it.
Yeah.
So it was a huge compliment from Stephen.
Yeah, from Stephen King, great compliment. Now, those of you who may not have read the book, I won't say what it is, but speaking of, there is some twisted shit in the book.
Yeah, very much so.
There's one in particular. We'll just
You read the book?
Yeah, kind of incestuous. We'll say. Are you covering that territory or staying away from it?
You're talking about Brady and
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, there have been some European buyers of the show that have been a little taken aback, to say the least, by some of those more twisted things in our show. And also that what it starts with, which is I wanted that sequence to be true without glamorizing it in any way, or Sam Peckinpah brilliant slow motion. I wanted to show the stark, real event that triggers our story.
Yeah.
That happens all too much in our world now, even though Stephen wrote it a while ago and it takes place in 2011.
Yeah, I was going to say, because actually when you guys started production on it, nothing in the real world had happened, but now it actually has. So.
It's modus operandi, and it's tragic. And and it was very important to me to show, when you look at those things, when you look at the tragedy in Nice, and you see those shots from a distance taken by an iPhone of a truck sort of ambling through this place, you have no sense of what it would look like if you were there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are pictures that are so much more gruesome that show that we as the public never saw. And I wanted to, like I said, not sensationalize anything, but I wanted to show, I feel it's important to show the cause and effect of some of those experiences. Like if people get shot, you should see blood. You don't need to glamorize it, but you need to show that we're not made of straw. There's a cause and effect in the world.
Yes, and I'm assuming the AT&T network, they were fully behind you guys.
Totally supportive. And the Uber company in Dallas just loved the show. Never heard a word except we love it. So God bless them.
Yeah, so hopefully all of you will be loving it when it comes in August to the AT&T network. Thanks,
Hope
Jack.
so. Thank you.